removal from premises is forbidden. Someone, see, this is what we're talking about, same thing. Someone took this book from Chabad of Sydney, made it all the way here. That's why I have to read it like this. It's upside down, the book. You have to turn it upside down. Okay, we started getting into the meat of the matter. We asked a basic question. Why is Mesiras Nefesh necessary for Kabbalah's Torah? Right? That was something that was taken for granted in Vata Tetzava, not Vata Tetzava. The basic inyan in the Maimer is our avodah, Emunah, Mesiras Nefesh, etc. Different levels of Emunah. Here, the Rebbe, exactly the same pasuk, Vekiblu hayehudim. The emphasis is going to be on Matan Torah itself. Why is Matan Torah, why is Mesiras Nefesh necessary in order to bring about the complete expression of Matan Torah? In order to explain that, so in Ois Daled, the Rebbe began, that's where we are, in the middle of Ois Daled, the Rebbe began explaining the Chiddush of Matan Torah itself. The Chiddush of Matan Torah is that there's a Chibur of Elyon v'Tachton. Until Matan Torah, so spiritual reality and physical reality could not meet in any way, shape, or form. So that means there was no such thing called a Hefza Shel Mitzvah before Matan Torah, an object that is an object of Kedusha. We talked about yesterday, the only object of Kedusha is the Bris Milah of Avram Avinu, because that was dafka a mitzvah like the mitzvahs after Matan Torah, where Kadosh Baruch Hu actually commanded Avram Avinu to do Bris Milah. And again, as we mentioned yesterday, that's one of the questions asked regarding Bris Milah. If Avram was Mekayim Kol Torah Kupa, why wasn't he Mekayim Bris Milah? Right? And one of the answers is that he wanted there to be one mitzvah that he does, like all other mitzvahs that the Yidden are going to do, in order to give us the koyach to do mitzvahs. But what's unique about the mitzvah of Bris Milah is that it comes from above, and therefore it's payil on Gashmis. It affects the physical object. At Kerekach, when Eliezer wanted to take an oath, there was only one thing he could hold on to, and that's the Bris Milah of Avram Avinu. Right? Okay. So that Gezerah was done away with. And there's a chibur, a connection and a joining together of spiritual reality and physical reality. And that's the Chiddush. Generally, we talk about that. We did footnote 31, so I just want to mention it once more because it is important, because it's important for what comes later in the mind. In general, when we talk about this, we talk about this within the context of mitzvahs. Right? And every example we bring is mitzvahs. That a mitzvah can bring about a situation after Matan Torah that a physical object can become. Excuse me, there's a sneeze coming, it's like in there, but it's just like bring me a cup and it's not going to let me talk. Now, come on. Oh. See, I shouldn't have said anything, and then maybe it just would have snuck out. Fair. That's a very annoying feeling in life. He's right there. He's just not coming out. Okay, say it. We'll deal with it. Don't worry, Lev. I wasn't going to sneeze all over you. I was going to turn away and cover my mouth. Don't worry about it. So, generally, when we talk about the chibur v'elyonim v'tachtonim, we talk about it in terms of mitzvahs. Now, we did look quickly at the footnote 31, but I have to look at it again just a little more carefully, because we might have missed the point. Val derech zeh hu b'Torah. First of all, the very fact that the Rebbe says va'al derech zeh, and he emphasizes the va'al derech zeh, it's a different font. Now again, the footnotes are the Rebbe's footnotes, so that means they mean something. In other words, the ikar expression of this, of the chibur of Elyon v'Tachton, you would assume is in mitzvahs. Now you can take a physical object and use it to fulfill the ratzon of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and that physical object is turned into a holy object. The most obvious example, you can take a cow. You take the leather from this part of the head of the cow, which is the thickest leather the cow has, evidently. And you take that leather and you form it and you do all sorts of things to it. And you turn it into one of the holiest things we know called tefillin. and you take some other part of the skin of the cow and you turn it into something called parchment, and we write on it, and you have this thing called tefillin, which is extremely holy. What is it? It's basically all cow, right? It's just a piece of cow. The straps are cow, the boxes are cow, the parchment is cow. It's all a cow. Right now, cows are sweet and they have big brown eyes and long eyelashes, and they're, they smell, right? Some people like the smell, some people don't like the smell, but they definitely give off a particular fragrance, a refit. Okay, we take that physical object and turn it into a davar shebekdusha, which Avram Avinu couldn't do. Yaakov Avinu, when he was mekayim the inyan of tefillin, so we know he did it with the maklos, with the sticks that he used in order to make stripes on the sheep that he was taking from Lavan, and in no way, shape, or form do we hear that those maklot, that those sticks became holy. I imagine he left them there, right? They were of no use whatsoever, even though they were involved in this incredible miracle, but they were also involved in the expression of the mitzvah of tefillin, but all in ruchnis, all in spirituality. Now here the Rebbe says something interesting. Al derech zeh b'Torah. In other words, it's not exactly the same way in Torah. And then the Rebbe says, well, we saw it yesterday, but shadavka b'matan Torah, the Rebbe says something quite astounding here. Nitan hakoyach shelimud Torah yiful shinui ba'adam halemda. In other words, what did it look like to learn Torah before Matan Torah? It wouldn't bring about a change in the person. That doesn't mean the person didn't know new things. Of course, they knew new things. Anytime you learn anything, you now know something that you didn't know before. But Matan Torah created a situation where the learning of Torah could bring about a complete transformation of the person himself. Now that, the Rebbe said, and that was interesting. The Rebbe says that's a chiddush of Matan Torah. Does the Rebbe quote the Sikha? Yeah. Rabbi Baruch Kaplan Sichas Chelik Tes Zayin. Now, we'll come back to that in a minute. But first, Ela she'ikar inin zehu b'mitzvahs. Certainly, the ikar is in b'mitzvahs. There's no question. But we're going to see this in Torah later in the Mimer, and it's important. That's why it's important to see this again and notice it more carefully than we noticed yesterday. And also the Sikha. Now, what's the Sikha? The Sikha is a very, very famous Sikha, the Rebbe, on the inyan of Matan Torah. Amar Rav Yosef, Eloi hayoma kama Yosef ika b'shuka. If it weren't for this day, how many Yosefs would there be in the shuk? Rav Yosef says that. Okay, so now what is he talking about? So Rashi says, Rashi uses two words. One of them is hitromamut. I forget the other word, I apologize. Rashi on the Gemara explains that Rav Yosef experienced a tremendous elevation as a result of Matan Torah. Hayom, he's talking about Shavuos. He used to make the Gemara says he used to make a big party on Shavuos. Meaning he made a Yom Tov meal, right? But he used to make a very special Yom Tov meal on Shavuos and invite a lot of people because this day is so special. And he said, if not for this day, how many Yosefs would there be in the shuk? And the only reason I'm in any way, shape, or form special is because of this day. So there's an amazing, very, very famous Sikha of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe asks all sorts of questions about the whole story. Say, because why is this shaykh to Rav Yosef any more than anybody else? Why Dafka mention the name? Why Dafka B'shuk? And the Rebbe points out that Rav Yosef was called Sinai. His dagesh was learning Torah, not mitzvahs. As a matter of fact, anybody know anything about Rav Yosef? Rav Yosef was the same as Rav Sheshis, if that helps. They were both blind. Rav Yosef was blind. What do we know about a blind person?
They're exempt from.
He's part of the business, right? Which is really interesting. That's the way he makes that point. Dafka Rav Yosef is saying this. That's why the Rebbe points out that Sikha here, meaning it's also shaykh to Torah. So Rav Yosef was part of the mitzvahs. Rav Sheshis is the famous Gemara where he says until the Gemara discusses what's greater, someone who's commanded to do something and does it, or someone who's not commanded to do it and does it anyway. Right, so the conclusion of the Gemara is someone who's commanded to do it. Is even greater than someone who's not commanded. You might think someone who's not commanded, even though he's not commanded, he still does it. Oh, what a big tzaddik. And the Gemara comes to the conclusion, no, because the koyach is in the mitzvah itself, the fact that the Kadosh Baruch Hu commanded, etc. And Rav Sheshis feels badly. because he's not commanded. He does mitzvahs anyway, but he's not commanded. And then it says, Chalish Data to Rav Sheshes felt badly when they got to the maskana of the discussion. So Rav Sheshes and Rav Yosef were both blind. That means when Rav Yosef says that, and that's why the Rebbe points to it here. When Rav Yosef says, if it were not for this day, how many Yosefs there would be in the shuk? He's talking about Matan Torah. He's talking about the Torah of it, not the mitzvahs of it. Torah also was changed by Matan Torah. We'll have to see how, and the Rebbe is going to talk about that later in the mind. That's why it's important to see this now and notice it. But you'll know, first of all, that's va'al derech zeh, in this way. It's not exactly the same. Torah is different than mitzvahs in this context. But there is an aspect of Torah itself that was changed by Matan Torah, such that it affects people differently after Matan Torah than before. I should have brought the book. There's also a very interesting. That Sefer Maimarim there? What is that? A Sefer Maimarim right in front of you?
Yeah.
What month is it? Is it Adar?
There's super.
Oh, look at that! See, he's got good. Okay, it happens to be interesting that I just want to find it in here because I've seen it in another book, but I've heard it's in here. In this Maimer is Tafshin Yirah. So the Hasidim evidently were nudging the Rebbe. They were nudging the Rebbe that he should write down his Maimer. That is here. Good. That he should write down his Maimer. The Rebbe didn't want to write down his Maimer. Now, it makes sense that they would ask the Rebbe to do that because at the end of his life, the Frierdiker Rebbe was writing down his Maimer because he wasn't saying them. So the Hasidim were nudging the Rebbe to write. I've seen it actually longer than this. Okay? So we have, when did they find this? I'm not sure. Not sure when they found this, but we have a copy of a Ksav Yad of the Rebbe writing this Maimer. Now that's all we have, what you see there, that little bit. The Rebbe didn't write the whole Maimer. The Maimer before Kisisa, evidently the Rebbe wrote out most of the Maimer. But this Maimer, the Rebbe just wrote a little bit. And it's very interesting what the Rebbe says. He says something here that he did not say here in the Mugadik Maimer. The Rebbe says, "Achidish b'matan Torah hayekuyidua, the sinus of Torah and mitzvahs begashmis dafka. The Chiddush Matan Torah is as known, the giving of Torah and mitzvahs in gashmis. Hainu, what does that mean? Now the Rebbe brings the other half of the medrash. In here it says El Yonim B'Tachtonim, right, upper realms and lower realms. But yesterday we mentioned that it says in the medrash Roimi V'Surya, right? So that's what the Rebbe brings here, right? Hainu Levata LaGezeira the B'nei Roimi LeYardu, etc. And it's all in shorthand here. The Rebbe just write. This is the fourth line of the Maimer. We're already in Ois Dalet, right in here. Then the Rebbe says, but he does say something very interesting here. He doesn't say here. She'achidish Matan Torah hakiyadua, nesinas Torah mitzvahs gashmis dafka. Hainu levatel gezeira v'lochein nitnu leneshamas begufim. Tafka, the chiburim yachad. The Torah was given to neshamas in gufim, which is a chibur of elyon and tachton, upper realm and lower realm. Neshamas upper, guf is lower. V'gam b'Torah mitzvah is chibur inyan agashmi shebezer ruchnis. The Rebbe adds the chibur of neshama and guf. So what was that before Matan Torah? Before Matan Torah, obviously there was a neshama and a guf. When they did mitzvahs, how did it work? Meaning the Rebbe just said that one of the chidushim of Matan Torah was that mitzvahs have to be done as a neshama in a guf. So could it be possible? I have no idea. I'm just saying when the Rebbe says that here, it's not here. It's over here in the Ksaviyat. When the Rebbe says that one of the chidushim of Matan Torah was the mitzvahs are given as a neshama in a guf. So first of all, this is true. We talk about the idea of us getting our neshamas at the time of Matan Torah. But when Avram Avinu did a mitzvah before Matan Torah, what happened? Was he still connected to his guf? Or might he have elevated beyond his guf and come back into his guf? But one of the things the Rebbe says here is the chibur of neshama and guf. which we just take for granted. Of course, there's a Hebrew of Neshama and Guf. Well, that's also evidently an expression of Matan Torah. Okay, back to what we've got here. So Matan Torah, we saw yesterday, we got down into the first expression of the three different aspects of reality at the time of Matan Torah. Matan Torah is the Hebrew of Elyonim v'Tachtonim. And that means that it's not that simply there's a Gilia or Ein Sof at the time of Matan Torah, which brings about this incredible state of holiness in this world also. That's not how the Rebbe explains it. The Rebbe says Matan Torah brings about the Hebrew of three different things, but those three different things remain what they are. There's Tachton, the lower realms, and the lower realms that isn't transformed into the upper realms by virtue of doing a mitzvah. Tefillin is still physical. Still weighs exactly what it weighed before. Right? Whatever leather you're using weighs the same once you've formed it into tefillin and painted it. But now it's holy. Okay? And it's even holy before Jews puts it on, right? Because of the parchment in there, etc., etc. There's certain things, as we mentioned yesterday, that aren't holy until a Jew does something. The piece of paper that I gave Lev today, so that piece of paper is now holy and can't be thrown in the garbage. Before I gave it to Lev, it could, because it's now been learned by a Jew. Before it was given to Lev, it wasn't learned by a Jew. It was just a copy of a piece of paper in this of a minor in this book. Okay, so that these two have no kedusha yet. Well, actually, the one below does, because I used it. Right, okay, so there's a couple here that have no kedusha yet. Okay, so there's that. There's also the intrinsic kedusha of the thing once it's turned into an object and has Shem, etc., etc. Okay, so that's tefillos, not like this. But the physical object remains a physical object. When we talk about, we saw the Chiddush, it was at the end of Shir yesterday, but so now we can talk about it more fully. When we talk about the Hebrew of Elyon and Tachton, we talk, there's different ways in which that happens. There's two basic ways in which the connection of the upper realm and the lower realm comes about. One is, and this is what we talked about yesterday quickly, we just threw it out. And this is what people in the class feel more comfortable with, because when we're learning Zayzchukas, so we saw that in you. The bittul of the Tachton. I don't know what we said in Zayzchukas. Did we learn Zayzchukas together?
Yeah.
Good. The bittul of the Tachton. And how's that? That's the relationship of Or to that which is below it. When Or is revealed, when Or Elyon, when upper level of light is revealed, meaning light itself, what does it do? It's mevatel the Tachton. Meaning when the Or is revealed, it's mevatel the Kli. Right? When Or Sevev is revealed, so there's no Or Mamali. It's bottle. What's Mamali? Mamali is a level of light that's brought down into a Kli and clothes itself in a vessel to give that vessel vitality. Okay, and it brings about a state of what you and I call finitude, differentiated reality. Okay, that's what Or Mamali, Or that's clothed in Kelim, brings about. Okay. Well, what if Sevev were to be revealed in that realm? If Or itself, the essence of the Or itself, were to be revealed in that realm, what would happen? All other states of being would be in a state of complete and total bittul. There wouldn't be finite reality, to put it simply. If infinite reality is revealed, then there's no finite reality. It's mevatel, the finite. Okay. So that's very often how we relate to the connection of Elyon and Tachton. So when the Elyon is revealed in the Tachton, when the upper realm is revealed in the lower realm, it brings about the bittul of the lower realm. That's how it works with Or. And when we talk about Elokos, that's what we usually talk about. Okay. But there are other ways in which there's a Hebrew of Elyon and Tachton. Rav and Talmud. Right? Shefa, not Or. Shefa. What's Shefa? Shefa is a level of Or that is all about being clothed in a vessel, clothed in a Kli. So what has to happen? The Rebbe explains at great length. Rebbe Shabin V'Yidaita Moskva. What has to happen to the Or of the intellect of the Mashpia when he wants to give that Or over to the Makabel, to the student? The Or has to be diminished and limited and expressed in a way that's commensurate to the Kli of the intellect of the student. Oh, so here's a case of a Hebrew of Elyon B'Tachton, the Mashpia and the Makabel, but the Hebrew is such that the Iker is the Makabel, And the mashpia is so to speak. He's not mevatel himself. But in terms of understanding what we said before the revelation of the or below is mevatel the below. Here, the revelation of the shefa below is, so to speak, mevatel the mashpia. The mashpia has to be metzamzem himself in order to bring about a revelation below. So either the elyon is a little less elyon in order to relate to the tachton, or the tachton ceases to exist in order to relate to the elyon. That's how it usually works. Yeah, the Rebbe is saying that was what we saw yesterday. Here we're seeing that they both stay in their previous state completely. So let's start from the middle of the paragraph. We read it quickly yesterday at the end of class. Al pir yedua, based on that which is known. Okay, after footnote 32, Mamish right in the middle of that. There's footnote 32 and footnote 33 right next to each other. See it? We've got that? In the middle of the paragraph in Dalit, yeah? Okay. Well, we read this yesterday, but we'll start from there. Al pir yedua. The joining together of two opposite things, which is certainly Ruchnius and Gashmias, comes about as a result of the revelation of something beyond both. The mashal we brought was the magnets. If I'm more powerful than the magnets, then I can push two north poles together, even though naturally they repel. But if I'm more powerful than both, I can make them join. It's not a problem. The joining together of these two different aspects of reality, these two different realms, spiritual realm and physical realm, Shanasa b'matan Torah, who al yedei is by virtue of the fact, sheb'matan Torah haisam shachas ein sof. There was a drawing down of a level of godly light, shelamaila, that is beyond mihageder, the definition and the limited expression of maila and mata, above and below. Elyonim v'tachtenim. Here's three different states of reality. There's tachton, there's elyon, and there's a level beyond both. We've always talked about it in terms of there's a level of finite reality, there's a level of infinite reality, and there's a level beyond both. The Eibush is not infinite, the Eibush is not finite. The Eibush is the source of infinite reality, is the source of finite reality, but he's beyond infinite, because infinite also, of course, is limited in that it has to be infinite. It can't be finite, so it's limited in its expression. Okay, there's a level of elokus that's beyond that. The Eibush isn't limited in any way, shape, or form. You and I call that atzmos. That's the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, we know that. So there's two different states of reality. We generally call it finite, infinite atzmos. That's how we often relate to it when we're talking about it. Here the Rebbe is talking about it tachtoinim, elyonim, and a level beyond both, where elyon and tachtoin doesn't exist. Finite and infinite doesn't exist in the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because beyond any state of limitation whatsoever. So the Eibush is not infinite. It's obviously not finite. But he's the source of infinite reality, and he's the source of finite reality. And it's just as reasonable to find him in finite as it is to find him, so to speak, in infinite. Finite is no less him than infinite, because he's beyond both. Okay, now the nature of finite reality is that it hides him in order to allow for the existence of the finite. That's true, right? That's the nature of the physical world that we experience. That's not the nature of our Eilam Abriya. And Eilam Abriya, Elokus is revealed very, very powerfully, even though there's an existence of finite reality, right? There's an angel over there, and there's an angel over there, and there's an angel over there. And the three of them are very easily differentiated, and yet they also reveal Elokus in a very, very clear way. Right? That being said, it's still not the deepest expression of revealed godliness, because the deepest expression of revealed godliness is infinite, not finite. Okay. That being said, finite's also the Eibush. Right? Koyach HaGvul Shebein Sof, it's called. The power of limitation in Ein Sof, as opposed to the Koyach HaBilti Gvul in Ein Sof, the power beyond limitation in Ein Sof. So the Eibush is not limited. So there are three different levels of reality: Tachton, Elyon, and beyond. Or Ein Sof. Now the Rebbe says or Ein Sof. Generally, we would say that means Atzmus in this context. From this is understood. Sheba mitzvahs shel achri matan Torah, Gimmel and Yonim. Mitzvahs after matan Torah, there are three things, three aspects. Hatachtin, the lower expression of the mitzvah. What's that? Shari gam la'achri matan Torah. This is the Kiddush we saw yesterday. Gam Torah shel dover gashmi, physical object. Shebay mekaymi the mitzvah, that you fulfill the mitzvah with that physical object. Nasa becomes a chefza shel mitzvah, becomes a mitzvah object, tefillin. But still, loy nefach leruchni, it's not transformed into a spiritual thing. V'nishar davar gashmi, it still remains physical. Doesn't mean it's not godly, but it's not ruchni. It's not spiritual. It's physical. Physical can be godly also. Right? Just like spiritual can be ungodly. Right? Avodah Zarah is spiritual. It's very ungodly, but it's spiritual. It's antithetical to godly reality. Right? Okay. So spiritual and physical aren't necessarily what we're looking for, but there are different realms. There's a physical realm and a spiritual realm. Okay. Can you express God in those realms? Yes. Can you express the opposite of God in those realms? Also. So here the Davar Gashmi hasn't become Ruchni, it's become holy, and still Nisha Davar Gashmi. It stays with a physical object. That's one aspect of the mitzvah. Ha'elyon, Tahare gam la'achrei matan Torah, even after matan Torah, kishekedushas mitzvah, when the holiness of the mitzvah, nimsheches, is drawn down, v'nikvas, and is somehow rooted, kavua becomes something permanent, right? But it's rooted in B'davar Gashmi, in the physical object. Still, in Ruchni, the Kedusha doesn't become something that you can touch with your hands. The Kedusha is still something spiritual. It's here, it's united with the physical object, but the physical object stays a physical object, and the spiritual, godly aspect of that stays spiritual. It doesn't become physical. The tefillin don't grow once you put them on. Because the Ruchnius has been transformed into Gashmis, that's what happens. Although they say from Menachem Chernobyl that he put on weight by saying Amen Yesh Meirab. That every time he said Amen Yesh Meirab, he used to weigh more. Okay, but he was a unique character. So now is tefillin elevated in Kedusha by virtue of the fact that someone puts them on a certain level, yes. I mean, tefillin in the store are different than the tefillin in your bag. We had my son, our oldest son. So he was in Yeshiva Katana, I guess about 25 years ago. I'm dating myself here. About 25 years ago, he was in Yeshiva Katana, Shir Aleph, maybe even 26. So he was sitting across the table from someone in Lud at a couple hundred Bachrim. The place was packed. When we davening there, so you would hear all the chairs move back before Shemon Esrei. You couldn't hear yourself thinking. They'd all move back at the same time. They're all squished in there. Small zal. It's a big zal, but it's not big enough for whatever 300 Bachrim. So he was sitting across from a kid named Kupchuk, and they were very makbid on time there. You finished davening, you had a certain amount of time to eat, and then you had to get to class. And if you weren't in line with everybody, you were going to be late. It was like basic training. So all of a sudden, Kupchuk came down to daven and put his tefillin on the table, and then he disappeared. And he came back about 20 minutes later, and of course now he had to do everything fast, so he put on his tefillin. He was behind in davening, so he finished davening late. He ate a quicker breakfast. He made it to class. So after class, my son asked him, "Where'd you go? Where'd you go during davening?" So he said, "Well, my tefillin were fixed. There was something wrong with my tefillin, so basically, it was just a year after bar mitzvah. So they're basically new, they're brand new, and I put them on the table, and I realized these tefillin had never had mitzvahim done with them. So who says they're even kosher? So he ran out to do mitzvahim, find a Jew hadn't put on tefillin that day. He's a 13, 14-year-old kid who ran out, found someone to put tefillin on. And that was hard because in that neighborhood, first of all, the neighborhood is called Shikun Chabad. A block away, it's also mostly, Sephardim who all put on tefillin. I mean, they might not wear a yarmulke, but they all put on tefillin in the morning. So it took him a while to find someone who hadn't put on tefillin. He put tefillin on that person, and then he said, oh, now they're kosher to wear. It's an interesting sensibility of a 13, 14-year-old. But, so it's true, by virtue of doing the mitzvah, we add somehow to the tefillin. But they're still ruchni. Anything we're adding is ruchni. It's not gashmi. The tefillin don't get bigger. Okay. So the elyon stays elyon. And then there's a third level. V'habitl shel gidrei elyon v'tachti. And the nullification of these two levels of upper and lower. Dezeh she'elyon v'tachti mischabrim zeim zeh. That which these two different realms, which is completely opposite, can be joined together, even though they're opposite, is by virtue of the nullification of their defined status as Elyon or Tachtain. And how does that happen? That's brought about through the third level that's involved in this act called the mitzvah after Matan Torah, the drawing down of Ar Ein Sof Shelamayla Mishneim, which is beyond both. So the Tachtain is still Tachtain. The Elyon is still Elyon, but they're brought into a state of synthesis by a level beyond both, so that the Tachtain doesn't compromise the Elyon, and the Elyon isn't mevatel the Tachtain. And that's a mitzvah. Those are the three aspects of reality that are at play in every mitzvah. Because the Tachtin stays Tachtin, doesn't disappear. So when you do a mitzvah, all of a sudden there's no physical object left. And the Elyon stays Elyon, doesn't become physical. The Kedusha of the Lulav is holy, spiritual. Can't weigh it, can't smell it. So those two things have now come into a state of harmony, and they've stayed the way they are. Why are they able to stay the way they are? Because there's also a revelation of a third level that brings about the ability to be mevatel the difference between Elyon and Tachtin. It's not mevatel the Elyon and the Tachtin. It's mevatel the difference between them and, so to speak, the defined reality of them as Elyon and Tachtin. But they still remain physical and spiritual. But now they can be in a state of harmony. That's a mitzvah. This is the ultimate paradox. Okay. So that's the idea of the Chibur of Elyon and Tachtin and Matan Torah. So now the Rebbe is going to explain that relative to mitzvahs. He's going to explain it relative to, first, the person doing a mitzvah. A person can do a mitzvah mitzad Tachtin, mitzad Elyon, and mitzad the level beyond both. The mitzvah itself, the mitzvah object, so to speak, the chefts of them, not the mitzvah, but the chefts of the mitzvah itself. And then the Rebbe is going to talk about it in terms of Talmud Torah. Okay, so let's see. V'yesh leimar, shegimmel and yoni melu, these three different levels that exist in the time of as a result of Matan Torah, Elyon, Tachtain, and the Chibur of both of them together. Yesh dugmasim, there's something similar to them, gam b'kiyum mitzvahs, when we perform mitzvahs. Now this is mitzad the gavra, this is mitzad us performing the mitzvah, as opposed to the mitzvah itself, that's going to be hay. Kisha adam mekayim is a mitzvahs. When a person does mitzvahs, b'derech, in a way of mitzvahs and nashim melumada, he does mitzvahs, generally that's translated as by rote. Okay. Hainu, machmas hahergel shel hurgel, okay? Because of the hergel comes to the word ragil, something that's regular, something that's common. Right? So a hergel, it's a hergel. It's something the person does naturally without thinking about it. Why? Well, they're educated to do that. Okay, so when you set the table, where do you put the fork? On the left. Why? I don't know. You're just taught to put the fork on the left. I don't think about putting the fork on the left. I just put the fork on the left. Right? Where do you put the napkin? Under the fork. Well, maybe you'll put it in the cup if you want to be fancy. Yesterday we thought about putting it in the cup. We couldn't figure out how to do it. So we put it under the napkin, under the fork. Okay, fine. That's just sort of how it works. So that's hergel. Hainu machmas hergel shehurgel came. Because that's just how he was taught. Kaven shehergel nasa teva. Because this hergel becomes teva. This becomes his nature. Why is he saying Meidani in the morning? He's just accustomed himself to say Meidani in the morning. And it's not like he has to, think about it. He just gets up in the morning. When he finally makes that decision to get up, he puts his hands together and he says Meidani. And he might not even think about it. He should think about it. But he might not. But there's actually a maila in the fact that his nature has become Maidani. He's a Maidani Jew. Because he can't, there's no such thing as getting up without saying Maidani. He might be thinking about all sorts of other things. Right? What does he do every morning? Daven Shachris. Why? It's just what you do. You daven Shachris in the morning. Does he think about it? He might not even think about it. Should he think about it? Of course he should think about it, 100%. But is there a mile in the fact that this Jew has become a person who gets up in the morning and daven Shachris just because that's who he is? That's the teva mitzad is nefesh b'amis. Yeah, this is what Balei Tshuva can never get about people who grew up from. It annoys them. No, they don't. They're not thinking about it. They're just davening and they're just davening. Okay, whoa. There's another side of the coin. Even without thinking, this person davens. They don't have to make a decision to daven. Making a decision to daven is the same as making a decision to put on shoes. You just put on shoes. Like when you get in the morning, what do? You get dressed. Why? I don't know. You just get dressed. You have to think about it. Oh, should I get dressed today? Oh, maybe I won't get dressed today. Maybe I'll go with my pajamas. No one goes in their pajamas. I mean, actually, I don't know. I see some of the guys in the post-I walking around. I'm not so sure that they're not in their pajamas. But okay, most people aren't wearing pajamas, right? Adults, like fully grown adults. Wait, what do you do when you get up in the morning? You get dressed. Like that's what you do. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to give me his name, and you don't have to read a book how to get dressed. You just get dressed. Now, for a little kid, that's like a major, it's like a major thing. Okay, but at a certain point in life, it doesn't take so long. You get dressed, you put on shoes, and probably, I don't know, maybe, hopefully, by now when you put on your shoes, you put on the right one, you put on the left one, you tie the left one, and you tie the right one without even thinking. That's just how you put on shoes. Because that's how you put on shoes according to Shulchan Aruch. You're supposed to tie the left one first. So if a person doesn't know that, so it's going to take them a while to accustom themselves to do that. But after a certain period of time, a week, a month, a year, whatever it is, they won't tie their shoe any other way. That's just the way you tie your shoe. Like you don't tie it before putting your foot in, right? No one does that, right? I mean, that also might theoretically have taken some time to learn, right? Because it might be easier for the kid to tie it when it's right in front of him as opposed to when it's way down there, even though down there isn't so way down when he's only this tall. Okay, but say that's why kids fall and it doesn't hurt because they don't have far to fall. That's why God is good to kids. When we fall, we're usually kids. When adults fall, it can hurt because it's a long way down. So all sorts of things have become hergel. So what can become hergel? Mitzvahs. Put it on tefillin. Jew gets up in the morning, puts on tefillin, doesn't think about it, just puts it on. Mitzvah tachta. It's not the nature of what? So look what the Rebbe is going to say. Kevan shehergel nasa teva. So this act that he does so often, so regularly, has become nature. Kiyum a mitzvah shalai. Mitzvah teva guf nefesh hativis. This is mitzvah nefesh b'amis. Not in a bad way. Just why does he eat breakfast every day? Because he has a nefesh b'amis. Not necessarily that he's so hungry. It's just you get up in the morning, eat breakfast because it's sort of a good idea to eat breakfast because you're gonna be hungry at some point. So eat breakfast. Fine. It's not something he has to sit and think about. Am I going to eat breakfast? I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm not going to have a cup of coffee. I'll eat orange. I'll drink orange juice. I won't drink. He just does it. That's what he does. He has the same breakfast every morning. Fine. It's not a big deal. Why? It's the teva. It's nefesh bahamis. Putting on tefillin is the teva, the nefesh bahamis of this Jew. He can't imagine getting up in the morning and not putting on tefillin. There's no such thing. It's like not getting dressed. Part of getting dressed is at some point you put on tefillin in the morning. Wow. So on one hand, you'll say, but that's only nefesh bahamis, and he's supposed to do it with intention and with that. True. On the other hand, the Rebbe's talking about this is actually quite a madrega. Right? That this person's nefesh bahamis is now so in tune with the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he does these mitzvahs without thinking. So of course he should think. Right? He should think. But that's a very amazing thing. That he doesn't even have to think in order to do a mitzvah, because it's so natural. Teva. Ukashimekayim is a mitzvah. Sorry, that's the end of the first. Tachtin Chabad. That's the first level. Tachtin. Nefesh Ativis, Nefesh Bahamis. And so that's the maila of the person for whom it's natural. And the Baal Tshuva has to become a person for whom it's natural. If every day he's going to decide, I'll put on tefillin or not put on tefillin, where's he holding? Right? That's not a decision. It's like you put on tefillin the same way you get dressed. So that the tachton has to be imbued with that holiness of tefillin. It happens to be an interesting footnote here. And I heard an explanation of it recently. Look at the footnote, 36. It's just very interesting. Tanya Perek Mem Dalet. That's where the Rebbe talks about Hergel becomes Nasa Teva. Then there's the Rebbe says Rei Gam Sham Sof Perek Yud Dalet and Perek Tezvav. And then the Rebbe brings some other places in Chassidus and Kabbalah. Isn't that order a little strange? 44, 14, and 15. Why not say 14, 15, and 44? Right? That's funny. So it happens to be that if you look in Tanya, it is interesting. 3 times Tanya talks about the union of Hergel Nasa Teva. Those last 2 for sure said Perek Yud Dalet. It says Teva Sheni. It doesn't say Teva, it says Teva Sheni. A second nature. Oh. So what's better, a nature or a second nature? So a second nature means it's still not my nature. It's only my second nature. It hasn't mamish become my nature yet. In Perek Mem Dalet, the Rebbe says it becomes Teva. In the next 2, the Rebbe says, I believe also in Tezvav, for sure in Yudaf. And also the Rebbe says, see over there. What do you mean see over there? Just say, like it says in Tanya, in Perek Mem Dalet, and Perek Yudaf. No, see over there also. You can see over there also. But the Iker is in Mem Dalet. In Mem Dalet, what does it say? Teva, mamish, just Teva. That's higher than Teva Sheni. Teva Sheni it's my second nature, but it's not my nature. It's still my second nature, right? At a certain point, it has to become my nature. So a person can do mitzvahs mitzad dat. Now, obviously, there's a disadvantage to this. There's no kavana, there's no ava. In here, I believe it, the Rebbe says, not here, interesting. I don't know where I found it, so I don't want to tell you years ago. It was pretty early. Anyway, I believe the Rebbe also says here Yira, which is really, the Rebbe leaves it out here, but in the Ksav Yad, when the Rebbe wrote it down to himself, he wrote Yira.
Meaning that there's no Yira?
No, the Adrabah, that this is Yira. Just,
Doing it by
fear, awe, Yira Tata, lower level Yira. You're just doing it because that's what you're accustomed to do. There's no expression of any connection to it per se. It's just what you do.
That's Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Or as a result.
The Rebbe doesn't use the word Kabbalah Soul, he uses the word Yira. I'll look it up after class. I want to finish the paragraph there. So that's really interesting. But this level, this is very often in Chassidus, this will be called a non-level. Right? This is like, it's not serious yet. Here, the Rebbe's talking about it as a level. This is a madrega and a vaida. Right? And it's very important. This is just a public announcement. It's very important for the Baal Tshuva to appreciate the person who, for whatever reason, they don't seem to be enjoying davening, perhaps. That's not good. And they don't seem to be paying much attention to it. That's also not good. But they're davening. Because they can't imagine getting up in the morning without davening. There's something in that. Right? Now, there's obviously more to go. But that's the teva mitzad the tachte. The nefesh of Amis can't imagine not davening. He's not into it, but he does it. And that's a place where a person has to get also. Sometimes that's a place the Baal Tshuva has to work up to. for the so-called lifer, he's like fell down to there. Not that there's higher low, just for him that was like falling down. Or now he's got to go back up and do this with the next level. It's called alpha, right? And the Baal Tshuva also has to do that, but the Baal Tshuva usually starts with the alpha. Why is he doing this if he's not excited about it and he's interested in it and he wants to grow? Okay, right? He didn't have to do this. No one told him to. Right? Okay, so that's the tachta. The second level. Let's finish the part of it. Because he loves God, and he wants to cling to Him. So he's doing a mitzvah mitzad ava. Now it's interesting. The Rebbe didn't mention yira before, though in the Ksav Yad it's there. But again, this is an edited mimer. The Rebbe took that out. He didn't say it either. Yeah, but in the original mimer, we have also the original mimer, just the basic mimer that the Rebbe said. It's much harder to learn than this one. But if you take Sefer Maimarim Tafshin Yud Aleph and look in it, the non-edited version of this mimer is there. It's very, very similar, but it's harder, right? But there, the Rebbe also doesn't say Yira. But we actually have three versions of this mimer. In the Ksav Yad, which is just a tiny little bit, the Rebbe does add the word Yira. But here the Rebbe says, he wants to cling to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, wants to be connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it's impossible to cling to him. Tanya Perek Dalet. So kiyum a mitzvah shaloi hu mitzad neshama. Coming from his neshama. His neshama wants to connect to its source. Nefesh Elokis, it's godly soul. Elyon Chabad, that's mitzad, the Elyon in us. So there's a way of doing mitzvahs mitzad tachtin. Just what you do. There's a way of doing mitzvahs mitzad Elyon. He wants to be connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu because he loves a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's his neshama. All right, so what's the third level? Ukishimekayim is a mitzvah l'shman. When he performs mitzvahs for their own sake, loy mitzad tayelis shetiyeh loy al yedei, not because of the advantage that will accrue to him as a result of this. Gam loy tayelis ruchnis, even not the spiritual advantage that he'll be close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So why is he doing the mitzvah? El mitzad zeh shem mitzvahs heim ritzonei yisbarach, because the mitzvahs are the ratzon of Kadosh Baruch Hu. So why is he doing this? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants me to. That's the highest level. Right? Why is he doing it? He's not doing it for his own spirituality. He's not doing it because that's just what he was brought up to do or what he's accustomed himself to do. He's doing it because this is what Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. And if Kadosh Baruch Hu wants something, you do it. Why? Kaka. It's the Eibishter. Right? As Balatanya explains, at great length, that even by Ava, Yesh Misha Oyev. By Ava, there's a person who loves. I'm expressing me. My love. Not that I'm expressing an incredibly positive and wonderful, beautiful, godly part of me. My Nefesh Elokis wants to connect to the Eibishter. Why? Because it loves the Eibishter. 100%. That's beautiful. That's incredible. It's still me. There's a level beyond that. Why are you doing the mitzvah? Because God wants it. Why does he want it? I don't know. Do I get anything from it? I definitely get from it. But am I doing it because I get from it? No. I'm doing it because that's what God wants. We've talked about that in the mashal of the husband and the wife, right? Bringing flowers, right? The husband brings flowers to his wife. 4 different guys, right? Here we're talking about 3, but we can talk about 4 different guys. So the first guy, why does he bring flowers to his wife? Because when he brings flowers to his wife, she cooks him a better dinner. Okay. Didn't flowers to his wife, he brought flowers to himself because he wanted a better dinner. Okay, so that's reward. That's doing mitzvahs for a reward in Elam Hazeh. Right? The second guy brings flowers to his wife because it makes for a better atmosphere in the house. It's nicer. Oh, so who do you bring flowers to? So it's a nicer atmosphere in the house. His wife also has an atmosphere, but he's thinking about it himself. It's just nicer. Okay, so that's someone who does mitzvahs for Elam Haba. Elam Haba is really nice, they say. It's supposed to be really, really nice. One moment of Elam Haba is greater than all the, one moment of pleasure in Elam Haba is greater than all the pleasure that could possibly be experienced in this world. Not just by one person, by in the world, b'chlal of 6,000 years of intellectual, spiritual, physical, emotional pleasure. One moment of Elam Haba is better than all of that. Mishnah and others. Okay, amazing. That's the second guy. Still brought it for himself. Third guy, why did he bring flowers to his wife? Because he wants to be a better husband. Still for him. Still him. It's higher than the other two, but it's still for him. That's tikkun amidos. He wants to be a better person. Okay. Doing mitzvahs to be a better person. So that's a lofty thing, but it's still ultimately for me. Right? And then the fourth level, why does he bring his wife flowers? Because his wife likes flowers. Oh, that's this. Why is he doing a mitzvah? God likes mitzvahs. What? I don't know. What does the Eibishter get about black boxes and leather straps? What's in it for him exactly? What's the big kick? I don't know, but he likes it. So you do it. You do it because he likes it. It's also good for you. Now, what's interesting though, that last guy, the guy, it's important to understand, that last guy who brought flowers for his wife, because she likes them. Is he a better husband? Yes. Is there a better atmosphere in the house? Yes. If she's cooking dinner that night, is it a better dinner? Yes, that all happens. But that's not why he did it. Right? He did it because his wife likes flowers. Right? That's all he cares about. He's not interested in what he gets from it. He's interested in what his wife gets from it. Okay, that's a good husband. That's a nice guy. Right? Okay. So too it's possible to do mitzvahs because the Eibishter likes mitzvahs. I don't know why he likes mitzvahs, but he likes mitzvahs. And if your wife likes purple flowers and you like red ones, you bring purple. Why? You don't like purple. You actually don't like purple flowers. The purple flowers that she likes actually have a smell that annoys you. Right? Roses. I'd rather bring her roses. And that's what all the poems say, to bring roses. But she doesn't like roses. Purple is violets, right? I guess violets are purple. Isn't violets? It's a shade of purple, isn't it? Violet? So it must be violets or purple. So you bring her violets. Why? I don't know. She likes violets. If you'd known, it's one of those questions you should ask before you go down shidduchim, what kind of flowers. If you'd known she likes violets, who knows? The shidduch might never have happened. But you can put up with it. She likes violets. So you get violets. Therefore, kiyum mitzvah shalai, lemitzad mitzvah shalai. It's not coming from his mitzias, from his own existence. Certainly not his nefesh hativis, because he's accustomed himself to this. Gam lo mitzias de neshama, not even the mitzias of the neshama, because he's not doing it to express his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu. He's doing it because the Kadosh Baruch Hu likes this. Ela b'bittul. It's coming from a place of bittul. Why? Because his agenda is the Eibishter's agenda. Shekol in Yanai, that all of his whole being, b'shasha makayim is a mitzvah. When he's doing this mitzvah, hurak l'kayim ratzon elyon, is to fulfill the desire of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what he does. He gets a lot from it. It might become his teva sheni. It might even become his teva. It's also an expression of his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's all true. That's not why he's doing it. He's doing it because Kadosh Baruch Hu likes it. Why is the Kadosh Baruch Hu like it? I don't know. Okay, we'll stop there. We'll see. Tomorrow we'll see how the Rebbe is going to explain how in mitzvahs themselves there's three different aspects. The actual kavanah of mitzvahs mitzvah Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because I'll talk about why Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us mitzvahs. Three different levels. Yeah.
So, from this other version of the Mayanot that discusses how when you're doing the mitzvah b'teva,